Therapadana, the legends of the Theras. Sudha chapter the 10th. 91. Sudhāpiṇḍiya. No one can count the good karma. Even for this it is that much of one who performs puja for those who are worthy of puja, like Buddhas and their followers, who have crossed over tears for grief, and moved beyond ties to rebirth, reaching nirvana, fearing naught. He who would exercise lordship here over the 4 continents would not be worth 1/16th part of one who performs such puja. When Siddhartha, the top person's shrine had become broken open, I donated balls of plaster, with a mind that was very clear. In the 94 eons since I did that good karma back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of renovation. In the 30th aeon ago, there were 13 will-turning kings, all known as Paisamkra, possessors of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sudhāpiṇḍiya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sudhāpiṇḍiya Thera is finished. 92. Sucintita. Happy and with a happy heart, I gave a new auspicious chair to Tissa, the Lord of the world, the Buddha, kinsman of the sun. 38 eons ago, I was the king, Maharusi. There were lots of riches for me, and many beds to sit upon. Having given Buddha a chair, with a mind that was very clear, I experienced my own karma, well done by myself formerly. In the 92 eons since I gifted him that chair back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of a chair gift. 38 eons ago, there were 3 wheel-turning monarchs, Rusi and Uparusai II, and Maharusi was the 3rd. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sucintita Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sucintita Thera is finished. 93. Addhacelaka. I gave a half a piece of cloth to Tissa, the blessed one. Then I was extremely miserable and plagued with an awful odor. Giving that half a cloth I thrilled in heaven for a whole aeon. During the eons that remained, I completed that good karma. In the 92 eons since I donated that cloth back then, I've come to know no bad rebirth. That is the fruit of giving cloth. In the 49th aeon hence, there were 32 lords of men, kings who turned the wheel of the law, known as Samanta Odana, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Addhacelaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Addhacelaka Thera is finished. 94. Sucidāyaka. I was formerly a blacksmith. In the fine city Banduma, I gave the gift of a needle to Vipassī, the sage so great. Due to such karma my knowledge is now just like a top diamond. I have no lust, I'm fully free. I have attained arahantship. With knowledge I learn everything about all past existences, and present ones and future ones. That is the fruit of needle gifts. In the 91st aeon thence lived 7 Vajrasamas, will-turning kings with great power, possessors of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Sucidāyaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Sucidāyaka Thera is finished. 95. Gandhamāliya. I made a perfumed stupa for him, Siddhartha, the blessed one, the Buddha, top chief of the world, blazing up like a fire altar, bright as a blue water lily, as superb as a tiger bull, of noble birth as is a lion, seated the top of all the monks, honored by the monks' assembly, and covered it with jasmine flowers, appropriate for the Buddha. Then worshipping the teacher's feet, I departed facing the north. In the 94 eons since, I gave that perfumed garland then, distinguished by the fruit of doing what should be done for the Buddha. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Buddha Puja. In the 39th aeon hence, there were 16 different people. All were known as Devaganda, and they were all wheel-turning kings. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Gandhamāliya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Gandhamāliya Thera is finished. 96. Tipupphiya. In the past, in a forest grove, I was a man who hunted deer. Seeing Buddha's green pali, I scattered 3 flowers on it. Then picking up the fallen leaves, I threw them all away outside, worshipping the pali tree, pure inside and pure outside too, as though facing the Sambuddha, Vipassī, leader of the world, well liberated, undefiled. I passed away right on the spot. In the 91 eons since, I performed that Bodhi Puja. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of Bodhi Puja. In the 30th eons hence, there were 13 kings who were all named Samantapasadaka, will-turning monarchs with great strength. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Tipupphiya Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Tipupphiya Thera is finished. 97. Madhupindika. In a quiet and trouble-free forest grove I once having seen Siddhartha the sage, the supreme sacrificial recipient, gone out one, the great elephant, bull of men, like a thoroughbred, shining forth like the morning star, praised by the assembly of gods. Much happiness arose in me. Knowledge came into being then, giving honey to the teacher, who'd risen from meditation, and worshipping the teacher's feet, I departed facing the east. Then 34 eons ago, I was the king Sudassana. Sweet honey flowed from lotus roots, whenever I was eating them, and it rained a rain of honey. That's the fruit of former karma. In the 94 eons since, I gave him that honey back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of giving honey. And 34 eons ago, there were 4 named Sudassana, will-turning kings with great power, possessors of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Madhupindika Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Madhupindika Thera is finished. 98. Senāsanadayaka. I gave a mat made out of leaves to Siddhartha, the blessed one, and served that Buddha thoroughly, then scattered flowers around for him. I enjoyed a very costly, pleasant cave and palaces too. Flowers which were most expensive dropped into my bed at that time. On my bed I snuggled on an ornamented mat of flowers, and a rain of flowers always rained down upon my bed back then. In the 94 eons since, I gave that mat made out of leaves. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of a giving a mat. There were 7 wheel-turning kings, all named Addhacelaka, who were born those lords of people. Then in the 5th aeon ago, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Senāsanadayaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Senāsanadayaka Thera is finished. 99. Veyyāvacca. There was a large group waiting on Vipassī, then the Blessed One, busy with all sorts of duties. I was then a humble servant. I had nothing that I could give to that well-gone one, the great sage, so I worshipped the teacher's feet with a mind that was very clear. In the 91 eons since, I performed that service back then. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of doing service. Then, in the 8th aeon ago, I was the king Suchintita, a wheel-turner with great power, possessor of the 7 gems, the 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Veyyāvacca Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Veyyāvacca Thera is finished. 100. Buddhapathaka. Back then I was the conch blower. For Vipassy, the Blessed One, constantly engaged in service. To the well-gone one, the great sage, look at the fruit of that service. To the neutral one, the world chief, 60,000 Turiya drums, are constantly attending me. In the 91 eons since, I served the great sage in that way. I've come to know no bad rebirth. That's the fruit of doing service. In the 24th aeon hence, there were 16 different kings then. All were named Mahanagosa, will-turning monarchs with great strength. The 4 analytical modes, and these 8 deliverances, 6 special knowledges mastered. I have done what the Buddha taught. Thus indeed Venerable Buddhapathaka Thera spoke these verses. The legend of Buddhapathaka Thera is finished. The summary, Sudhāpiṇḍiya and Sela 2, Camera, Gandhamāliya, Tipupphiya, Madhu, Sen, Veyyāvacca and Dhammaka. Exactly 60 verses are related in this chapter. The Sudha chapter, the 10th. Then there is the summary of chapters. Buddha chapter is the first. Sahasani, Subhuti, Kuadana and Upali, Vijani and Sakasatani, Nagasamala, Timura. With Sudha chapter they are 10. There are 1400 verses, plus another 55. The 10 chapters called Buddha. The first 100 is finished.